Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to be, kind of doing something fun.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be looking at what billionaire investors are doing in the retail
Looking
space.
over their shoulders, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So our source material for this deep dive is an article from the Motley Fool.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're a pretty well-known financial advice platform, and in this article they highlighted
Uh-huh.
two companies that have caught the attention of some really big investors.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's Coupang and Skechers.
Oh, wow, that's an interesting pair.
I know, right? Like, what do they have in common? It's kind of strange.
Yeah, one's like, big in South Korea with e-commerce, and the other way is shoes.
Exactly. And you know what makes this even more interesting is that the market right now
Uh-huh.
is kind of, a little bit crazy. The S&P 500 is like practically at an all-time high.
Really?
Yeah, and the price to earnings ratio is double its historical average.
Oh, wow.
It's sitting at 30.
30. So what does that mean, like, for people who maybe aren't, super familiar with?
Yeah, so basically it means that investors are willing to pay $30
Okay.
for every $1 of earnings that a company in the S&P 500 generates.
So that seems kind of high.
It does, and it makes you wonder, are things overpriced? Are we in a bubble?
Right, and if that's the case, then why are these billionaires
Uh-huh.
still finding, opportunities in retail, specifically in this market?
Exactly. Like, what do they see that maybe we're all missing?
Yeah.
So let's start with Coupang. I think a lot of people have heard of them. I'm not sure.
Sure.
They're often called, like, the Amazon of South Korea.
Oh, wow. That's a bold statement.
It is, but they control almost 40% of the South Korean e-commerce market.
Wow. 40%, that's huge.
It is, and their revenue growth is pretty impressive, too.
Okay, what are we talking here?
Up 20% year over year, and that's even after, taking out their recent acquisition of Farfetch.
Farfetch.
Yeah, the luxury goods marketplace.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard of that one.
So that kind of growth is definitely attracting attention, and, not just from us,
Uh-huh.
but from big-time investors like Howard Marks and Chase Coleman.
Oh, wow, so they were investing in Coupang last quarter.
Yeah, they were.
Interesting. So what is it about Coupang that's so unique? Like, why are these,
Right.
really savvy investors betting on them?
Yeah, what makes them stand out?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've built this incredibly efficient delivery system,
Okay.
which is, especially impressive when you consider how densely populated South Korea is.
Oh, yeah, those cities are packed.
They are. And so Coupang, they've invested heavily in this network of fulfillment centers,
Okay.
and they have their own delivery infrastructure.
Wow, so they're not relying on, like third-party delivery services or anything?
Nope, they're doing it all themselves, and it allows them to offer same-day or even next-hour delivery.
Next-hour delivery.
Yeah, in a lot of areas.
That's amazing.
It is, and it gives them a huge advantage in a market where, speed and convenience are everything.
Oh, for sure. People want things now.
They do. They don't want to wait.
So it sounds like they've really figured out that last-mile delivery problem,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that even like Amazon, struggles with.
Yeah, they've been trying to pack that for years.
Exactly. So it makes you wonder if Coupang can take this model
Uh-huh.
and replicate it internationally because, they're not just content with South Korea.
Right, they're ambitious.
Yeah, they're expanding into Taiwan, Singapore, China, India, and even parts of Europe.
Wow, that's a pretty aggressive expansion plan.
It is, so that's pretty risky, right? Like, what if their model doesn't work in other markets?
That's a good question.
And they're so reliant on South Korea.
Right. What happens if their economy, takes a downturn?
It's a lot to consider.
It is, but there's another factor that might be, fueling these billionaire bets, and that's valuation.
Oh, okay, how so?
So Coupang's price-to-sales ratio, and that basically tells you how much investors are willing to pay
Uh-huh.
for each dollar of revenue the company generates.
Which-
It's 1.6.
1.6.
Yeah, and that's actually lower than Amazon's was during its early growth phase.
So are these investors thinking that Coupang is potentially undervalued?
It was.
Like they're trying to get in on the ground floor of the, next Amazon?
Maybe they're looking for that next big thing.
Yeah, that's a really interesting angle.
It is. So we have Coupang, the e-commerce, disruptor.
Right.
Now let's switch gears to our second company, Skechers.
Skechers. I'm a little surprised to see them on this list.
Me too. It's not the first company that comes to mind when you think of, like, high growth potential.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but they have been quietly delivering some pretty steady earnings growth.
They have double-digit growth.
Yeah, and they're trading at a price-to-earnings ratio of just 16.
16, that seems low.
It does, especially when you consider their long-term track record.
Right. Their revenue has been growing pretty consistently over the past decade,
How consistently are we talking?
averaging 14% annually.
14%, that's not bad at all.
Not bad at all. And their most recent quarter was strong too, 13% sales growth. It's a 26% jump in earnings.
26%. Wow, they must be doing something, right?
They are, and here's where it gets really interesting. Skechers is making this move into performance footwear.
Performance footwear, so like athletic shoes.
Exactly. They're signing pro athletes in basketball, golf, baseball.
Oh, wow, so they're trying to compete with like Nike and Adidas?
It seems like it.
That's a bold move. I mean, those are some really big players.
It is, but it's a smart play. The performance footwear market is huge,
Yeah.
and Skechers already has, brand recognition and infrastructure.
Right, so they can leverage that.
Exactly, and they're not just relying on endorsements. They're investing in product innovation, too. New technologies designs specifically for athletes.
So they're serious about this, huh?
They are, but there are some challenges they'll have to face.
Like what?
Well, the article mentioned the potential impact of those U.S. tariffs on imports from China.
Oh, right, because a lot of their manufacturing is in China, right?
Yeah, and in Vietnam, too.
So those tariffs could really eat into their profits if they can't, adjust their strategy.
Exactly.
And didn't their stock price take a dip recently? Something about their earnings report?
Yeah, there was a dip after their Q4 earnings report.
What happened?
Their guidance for future earnings was lower than what analysts were expected.
Oh, so that spooked some investors.
It did.
Yeah, guidance can be a tricky thing. It's just a projection.
Right, it's not a guarantee.
But still, the market reacts to it.
Yeah, so even though there are challenges, Skechers is showing strong growth expanding into new markets.
Yeah, and some analysts are predicting 16% earnings growth for them in 2025.
That's pretty impressive.
It is, and that's probably why billionaire Andreas Halvorsen decided to open a new position in Skechers last quarter.
He's not letting those short-term fluctuations, scale him away.
Seems like he's thinking long-term.
Exactly. So we've got these two companies that seem pretty different on the surface,
Uh-huh.
but they're both attracting the attention of billionaire investors.
It makes you wonder why them. What do these investors see that maybe the average person is missing?
That's a great question, and it's something that we're going to dig into in our next segment.
Okay, so we're going to get into the minds of these billionaires.
We're going to try to unpack their strategies and their motivations and see what we can learn from them.
Sounds fascinating. I can't wait.
Like we're trying to crack the code, figure out their secret sauce.
Yeah, but it's not really about, copying everything they do.
Right.
It's more about understanding how they think.
Yeah, like what are they actually looking for when they're making these big investments?
I mean, they're doing their research for sure. They have access to so much information and analysis.
Oh, yeah, way more than we do.
Definitely. And they're not afraid to take risks.
Right, but they're not just gambling either.
No, they're looking for companies that have something special.
Uh-huh, like a real competitive advantage.
Exactly. Strong leadership, a clear path to growth.
They're not looking for those quick wins.
No, it's all about the long game with these guys.
Patience is key.
Yeah, sometimes they hold these investments for years, even decades,
Wow.
to really see those big returns.
Okay, so let's bring it back to Coupang and Skechers. How do they fit into this framework?
Well, with Coupang, I think the big question is international expansion.
Right. Can they really become a global player?
Yeah, it's a big unknown. You want to see if they can replicate that success in new markets.
Like, are they actually gaining market share?
Yeah, are they adapting their model to those different environments?
Because what works in South Korea might not work somewhere else.
Exactly. Different cultures, different consumer habits.
And, we talked about that reliance on South Korea.
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
It seems risky.
It is. So you got to look at the overall health of the South Korean economy.
Right. Is it stable?
Are there any political changes coming up that could affect Coupang's business?
Like, you got to be a detective.
Kind of, yeah.
Looking at all these different factors.
The company itself can also the environment around it.
So with Skechers, what are the key things to watch?
Well, that push into performance footwear is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, can they really compete with the big guys?
It's a tough market. You've got Nike, Adidas, Under Armour.
Those are giants.
They are. So the question is, can Skechers build a credible brand in that space?
Are they signing the right athletes?
Yeah, are their products actually innovative?
Do they have something new to offer?
And let's not forget about those tariffs on imports from China.
Right, that could be a real problem for them.
It could. So are they diversifying their manufacturing?
Are they moving production to other countries?
Yeah, maybe places that are less affected by those tariffs.
Are they finding ways to manage those costs?
Right, because they got to protect those profit margins.
A lot to think about.
It is, but it's important to remember we're not just blindly following these billionaires.
Right, we're not saying copy every trade they make.
No, it's about learning from them.
Understanding their process.
And then applying that to our own decisions.
Because we all have different goals, different risk tolerances, different timelines.
Exactly. You got to find what works for you.
So do your own research.
Yeah, look it on the headlines.
Really understand the fundamentals of a company before you invest.
Absolutely.
It's funny. We started by talking about following these billionaire investors.
Right.
Learning from them.
Trying to see what they see.
But what if we kind of flipped the script?
Flip the script. What do you mean?
What if instead of following the herd,
Uh-huh.
we actually looked for investments that billionaires are avoiding?
Oh, so you're saying like go against the grain.
Yeah, could there be opportunities in places where those big investors aren't looking?
It's possible they might be overlooking smaller niche companies.
Right. Or emerging trends.
Exactly, things that haven't quite hit their radar yet.
So instead of chasing the same investments,
We could find some hidden gems.
undervalued companies with huge potential.
That's a different way of thinking.
It is. It's not about outsmarting the billionaires.
No, it's about recognizing that there are multiple paths to success.
It's about being a little bit contrarian.
A little adventurous.
Doing your own due diligence.
It's a really interesting idea.
It makes you wonder what's out there.
Right, like what are we missing?
What opportunities are hiding in plain sight?
So how do we find them?
Where do we even start?
Well, it starts with curiosity,
Okay.
a willingness to look beyond the obvious,
To go off the beaten path.
explore emerging industries,
Disruptive technologies.
companies that are solving problems in new ways.
Even if those problems seem small or niche,
Those are the places where you might find the next big thing.
before everyone else catches on.
It's like being a scout
Yeah, looking for that breakout star.
before they hit the big leagues.
So we got to focus on companies that are solving real problems,
Yeah, building a solid foundation for growth.
even if they haven't gotten a lot of attention yet.
And don't be afraid to trust your gut.
Right.
If something feels right,
Do your research.
make sure it's a sound investment,
But sometimes that intuition can lead you to something special.
something that other people might miss.
So we need to be like those talent scouts you see in movies.
Yeah, the ones who are always discovering the next big star.
Exactly. They're out there looking for that raw talent.
The potential that nobody else sees.
And then, bam, they turn that nobody into a superstar.
So we got to have that same kind of vision in the investing world,
We got to be able to spot those companies that are going to be huge.
even when they're still small and under the radar.
Yeah, like those hidden gems that are just waiting to be discovered.
And the thing is, those hidden gems are often much more accessible to individual investors.
You don't need billions of dollars to get in on the ground floor.
Nope. You just need to know where to look.
So how do we do that? Where do we even start looking for these hidden opportunities?
Well, I think the first step is to broaden your horizons.
Okay, so don't just stick to the familiar industries.
Yeah, get out of your comfort zone.
Explore those emerging technologies.
Read industry publications, attend conferences.
Talk to people who are on the cutting edge.
Yeah, you got to immerse yourself in that world.
So it's all about being curious,
Yeah, asking questions.
connecting the dots.
Being proactive.
Don't be afraid to reach out to companies that you find interesting.
Yeah, attend investor presentations, talk to analysts.
Learn as much as you can.
The more you know, the better equipped you'll be to spot those hidden gems.
This deep dive has been amazing.
It has.
We went from analyzing billionaire portfolios
Right.
to talking about finding value where nobody else is looking.
It's a whole different way of thinking about investing.
And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that there's no one right way to do this.
Absolutely.
There's no magic formula.
It's a combination of things.
Being informed, doing your research,
Trusting your gut.
and maybe even being a little bit rebellious.
Yeah, going against the grain sometimes.
But most importantly, it's about staying curious.
Yeah, never stop exploring.
The world of investing is always changing.
So we got to stay ahead of the curve.
That's how we find those opportunities.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll be the ones making the headlines with our own amazing investment picks.
Until then, happy investing, everyone.
And keep digging.